Is manifestation just a buzzword? Let's dig deeper into that. Welcome to another episode of The Good, Bad, and Ugly of Business. I'm your host, Catryn Becker, and on this podcast, we interview all sorts of different successful people because we want to learn what they have learned that's made them so successful. Because while a smart person can learn from their own mistakes, a genius learns from the mistakes of others. So let's talk about the good, bad, and ugly so that we can learn to either avoid the mistakes completely or we can learn to fail faster. So this is going to be one of my more woo-woo episodes, you guys. I know you know that you love them. You know I love them. We love to dig into this because it's a part of the experience and the human experience, and it's really important to talk about it all. So even if you're coming at this from being like, I don't know, I urge you to spend the 30 minutes, listen, learn about it, and maybe you can learn something new or spark some ideas of something that you didn't think about before. So joining me today for this great jump into the unknown is the founder of the Xpansion Alchemy. Her name is Ania Halama. Welcome to the show, Ania.
Thank you so much, Catherine. It's a pleasure to be here.
It is a pleasure to have you and to get to share each other's journeys and experiences and what we have learned along the way with the hopes of helping more and others. So first, please, Xpansion Alchemy, tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, Xpansion Alchemy is a holistic wellness school in the realms of personal development, health, relationships, spirituality, and financial wealth. We've got 12 teachers on board, each giving one live class a month. So you get little snippets of all of those 5 subjects. And I truly believe that it's a whole embodiment of who you want to become and who you truly are, starting with personal development, your mindset, your health, or focusing on your relationships. And that's when the financial wealth comes. So we focus on the financial wealth last. It shouldn't be focused on first, just to become the best versions of yourself through little snippets and bite-sized classes through each of our teachers.
Because it doesn't need to be this overwhelming thing. I mean,
No.
it can be, but it doesn't have to be. And if that's the part that's holding you back from learning and exploring, then obviously there's other options out there. So that is wonderful. But you didn't actually always start there. You came from a graphic design background, I understand, and lived the journey that so many of us have lived or are currently living, where we just burn out. Life happens, the traumas build up, and we just need a way to find some other way to live. So has that journey been like for you?
Oh my goodness, a roller coaster, I should say. Not even a journey, an ups, down, hit by a bus, all of it. Yeah, started off in corporate America. I worked in corporate America as a graphic design and marketing background. Did that for a very long time, over 10 years. And I came to a point in my career where I was butting heads with my manager at the time, and I just couldn't escalate any further up the corporate ladder in that particular job. So I was like, I can look for a new job or do something crazy. And as you guessed it, I did something crazy. So in those 2 weeks, I put in my 2-week notice. In those 2 weeks, I sold my car, sold my apartment, put everything in storage, bought a one-way ticket to Thailand. I was also very sick during that time, anxiety, depression, insomnia. I was going blind. Doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I couldn't hold any food down. I had celiac disease. I was allergic to everything, just super sick. So that kind of just started my woo-woo side, like my healing trajectory. And once I went to Thailand, I started healing. Thankfully, I had a corporate background, and graphic design was really easy for me to transition into the online world, working for myself. So started off doing some freelance work, having some graphic design clients. And then while I was healing, I was like, if I can heal myself, I can help other people heal as well, which led me down the path of plant medicines. And I started doing business coaching because I hired a mentor, and he's like, you've got a marketing background. Why don't you help people market their businesses? I'm like, bad idea. So I started off doing business coaching, but I went really down the woo path, the spiritual path. So I turned business coaching into spiritual coaching, and I was doing that for about 5 years. And then I wrote my second book, which was amazing. I was on book tour, Vegas, LA, New York. I had a Times Square billboard. I felt like I was on top of the world. Came back from book tour, and this is where the ugly begins, and Xpansion Alchemy came about. So I came back from book tour and I got hacked. I lost everything. I lost my website. I lost 30,000 email subscribers. I lost 300 pieces of video content I've ever created. And which led me to having a mental breakdown. Like, is this what I should be doing? Questioning myself, questioning my worth. Like, should I be coaching anymore? Like, is this really making me happy? Like, why did this happen? What is the silver lining
Mm.
behind this? And so I did what I knew how to do best. And I surrendered and I meditated for 4 hours. And in this 4 hour meditation, Xpansion Alchemy came to me. The name, the colors, the branding, what partners I want, and what structure, how it's going to be, like everything was given to me. And the message that came from it was collaboration, not competition. We do not need to build businesses on our own anymore. Why not collaborate and reach more people? Why not, like, our teachers give one class a month. I teach one class a month, like in Xpansion Alchemy, collaboration, not competition. There is plenty. And this is the whole thing with manifestation and abundance. There's plenty for everyone. Why not reach a much wider audience? The way I teach might resonate with some people. The way Catryn teaches might resonate with others. So why not collaborate and reach a much wider audience versus just trying to reach the same people, trying to go after the same things, do the same things, and like, definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, like expecting a different result. So why not collaborate and just reach different people? Because some students might watch my master classes only. Some students might watch all 12 of them every month. Why not just like get little bits and snippets from everyone? Like I don't teach health at all. Like, health is not my forte, but I have teachers that do. I know that is such an important, like, sure, mental health, but like actual nutrition, like body stuff, I don't
Right.
teach that. But I know it's so important. I have other teachers to help and support you with those other aspects as well.
Well, and you and I are a lot alike in that we have a lot of certifications in different things. And I know from my perspective that, I started with one because you got to start somewhere. And that helped and got me so far. And then it was like, okay, this isn't going to take me the next step that I'm wanting to go and having to find the next thing. So I think it's really lovely to think of it in terms of that holistic, that we need different things in different seasons. And it's not always going to be just one thing the whole time, the rest of our life, because how boring.
Of course, also personal development is not a one size fits all. What works for one person does not work for everyone. So this is why I have all these certificates and all these different things. Because one client I might do EFT tapping on, the other one I might go into Akashic records, the other one we might be focusing on law of attraction and manifestation. Different people need different things.
Absolutely right. So let's talk about manifestation, because that's how we started the episode. And I think, so many people use the term now. It's become much more prominent. We hear about it in many different more avenues than before, when it was just like from The Secret, right? Where people first started kind of making it be more mainstream. So how have you seen, well, first of all, I'd like your take on what you believe manifestation is and how it works for you. And then I'll ask my second half to the question.
Yeah, so manifestation has some like connotations to it, that it's like ask, believe, receive. Like, I'm just gonna think about it and like tomorrow I'm gonna get this like $1 million in my bank account. I don't know where it came from, but as long as I believe in it, it's going to happen. And then tomorrow comes around and you're like, I still don't have $1 million in my bank account. Like, what is going on? So it
Manifestation
has,
doesn't work.
that would be great. Exactly. And people are like, oh, now this is crap. It doesn't work. Like, no, not necessarily. So manifestation really is, you manifest from your subconscious mind. What your subconscious believes, then that's what you will receive. And subconscious programming goes into your childhood wounds, go into what your parents taught you, what society taught you, all of the stuff you learned as a child. That's where it truly stems from. And I have a really beautiful story. For example, I just manifested my beloved. We've been together for multiple months now. And like, he is 100% my person. Like, I know it. I feel it in every bone in my body. I always thought it was so silly when everyone's like, oh, when you know, you know. I'm like, now I know. Like, when you know, you know. But I've been engaged before. Like, all the people that I've dated in the past, like, they just weren't my person. And I believe that. However, I went on a 2-month journey in the jungle, getting initiated into plant medicines so I can serve the medicine, ayahuasca specifically. And in my process, I had a lot of wounds around my inner child that came up. And something that I never even thought of, so I grew up really quickly. My dad was in a work accident when I was 10 years old. And I had to, like, we're immigrants coming to the US. I was born in Poland, so I was the first one speaking English. So going to all the doctor offices, law offices, translating legal documents at 10 years old, like no
It's a
child should
lot.
have to go through that. I really felt like my childhood got robbed because of this. And I've done a lot of healing around this. I thought it was healed, but there's always more healing. But what
The
I
layers
didn't
of the
realize,
onion.
the layers, exactly, always peeling them back. But what I didn't realize was I needed to heal the inner masculine child in me. The inner masculine child had to be the quote unquote man of the house. The little girl in me, yeah, she already felt safe. But the little boy in me, the part of me that had to be the man of the house, that's what stopped me from manifesting my beloved. Once I healed that, went through a crazy process while I was in the jungle. I met this man in the jungle. Like we didn't, like he came into course while I was, or he was leaving while I came in. And then a month and a half later, once I came back home, like he just so happened to be in the same city as me. And we met up, and like now he's my person. Like I had no idea how this was going to come about, but I needed to heal that subconscious, that so deep in me that was stopping me from like finding my perfect person, because I had all this subconscious programming. So you manifest from your subconscious. Once you truly heal that, heal what your relationship with your parents was like, what your relationship with your parents in comparison to money, in comparison to love, in comparison. Okay, maybe your family had a beautiful relationship. And I see this often. Like, yes, my parents had a loving relationship. There's nothing wrong with my parents' relationship. Okay, but maybe your mother felt like she was trapped, she was in a prison, and that was on you. And now you're manifesting that. Now you feel, you're like, yeah, they had a great relationship, but I actually feel trapped in relationships. So once you work through those, that's when your manifestations come through.
Well, we never know what's happening in someone else's relationship, especially as a kid. Like, I mean, how many things as a kid that we just, especially your story at 10 years old, all of a sudden now you're having to be in on these conversations that aren't appropriate for most 10-year-olds, that you wouldn't choose for yourself. So it's hard to understand all of those intricacies. And just the fact, like when we're in the womb and experiencing all the things that our mother is experiencing
Oh, yeah.
and everything that she's going through, it's a lot. And
It goes deep.
It goes deep. It goes deep. And there's no wonder when we talk about generational traumas, I mean, you can see it and literally trace it back more often than not. So it's beautiful to have that. And I loved how you talked about the inner boy within you, because we only think of ourselves in one, yet we contain both energies.
Like I do masculine feminine work all the time, but I never in my life thought about healing the inner the little boy in me. Never. And that's the part that needed to heal. That when that came through, I was mind boggled. I was like, whoa, where is this coming from? But it was so powerful.
Well, and it's something that we love to do as humans. We love to compartmentalize and silo. And, one of the things you and I were talking about before we started recording was the work that you're doing in the business space. And I love that more and more businesses are becoming more open to, like, I mean, it first started with just saying the word wellness, which just getting the word wellness in businesses and corporations was a huge win. But now even that is opening up into and flowering into its, more full exposure. But, I think growing up in the 80s and 90s, and even into the 2000s, and even today, still people talk about work-life balance. And to me, I think it's a complete myth that actually does more damage than good. So kind of what are your thoughts around work-life balance?
I truly believe that just need a balance in everything in our lives. Like everything comes down to just having a balance in life. Like moderation, not deprivation, is one of my all-time favorite mottos. I love it. So everything in little bite-sized pieces, like whether it's work-life balance, like your relationship balance, the balance between yourself. Like, am I staying inside, like internally introverted all the time? Like, is this season asking me to hermit? Like, I need to balance that out with hanging out with a couple of friends here and there. Just balance in everything, whether it's work life, your relationships, your health, like anything.
I completely understand that. And I think where I get hung up with the word balance is so many people, when you tell them balance, they imagine like a seesaw. or a scale, or like the scales of justice, where it has to be equal when it's really not. So I love to use the word like homeostasis, that it
Mm.
needs to have the right amount in the right places for the whole system to become into balance, but it's not like equal components of the
Yeah, and I
solution.
agree with that. Similar to like going back to masculine and feminine, like we both have masculine and feminine inside of us, but we need to learn to balance it. But it'll never be 100% balance. Like at the end of the day, I'm a female. I choose to be a female. Like that's who I am. Yes, my feminine is more prominent, but I was in my masculine for so long. If you learn to balance it, you know when to bring those out. Similar with work-life balance. Okay, if you learn to balance it, you know when to work a little bit more versus when to go out and be social and spend more time with your family. You learn when is the appropriate times for that balance to come out. So homeostasis is a beautiful way to putting that.
Tell me a little bit more about the services that you offer in the business space.
Yeah, so Xpansion Alchemy, we just launched our corporate side, which I'm super excited about. We launched about a week and a half ago with a 3-day virtual event. So bringing Xpansion Alchemy into corporations as a mental wellness benefit. So bringing companies on board and signing up all of their employees so they can get access to all 12 of the teachers and go through it, because we truly believe like the better that you are, mentally, physically, emotionally, all spiritually, like your relationships are going to be better. And the way that you deal with, let's say, relationships, for example, because that's a big one in the corporate environment. The way you deal with relationships at home is the same exact you would deal with relationships in the office, in the workspace, same exact way. So why not learn how to deal with relationships in general and apply it to all sections of your life, having that balance all over again. So they're able to sign up. And we truly believe that if you feel better, if you're acting better, then you're going to want to perform better at work. You're going to have more motivation. You're going to be more productive, and in turn, bringing more ROI to companies. So who doesn't want that?
I mean, at the bottom end of the day, that's literally the bottom line. And you know, you're currently in Colombia. You're from Poland. You grew up in the U.S. You escaped to Thailand to start your journey. You know, you've gotten the opportunity to experience so many different cultures and religions and just ways of being. How do you see how people in these different areas come to terms with the healing, with the woo-woo? Like, how is it accepted and how do you see it changing?
So one of the reasons why I'm really attracted to Colombia, and I've stayed here, I've been here for 6 years already, is because they're so open to the spirituality. They're so open to healing, plant medicines, and everyone is pretty much, at least the people that I hang out with in my circle, sure, like it's a big city and there's tons of expats here, and not everyone is like into the woo, but my circle, we all want to be better in one way or another. So we put in the work to be better, which I haven't found. I'm from Chicago, and like just going back home, like people are still in that rut of hustle mentality. We need to go. Like it's a corporate city, Chicago is. Like we're constantly going. It's a financial industry. Like we're constantly going, hustling, hustle, 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 hustle. And that's when people burn out. So that's why we want to bring Xpansion Alchemy into corporations in those areas where it's a metropolitan city that are constantly hustling, constantly going. So because I've been there, I've been like mental breakdowns, burnout, like it is a real thing. If I had the tools then that I have today, I'd still probably be in corporate America. Thankfully, my paths have shifted and they're different now. But I know that those people needed the most because that's when I needed it the most. Like, I wish my journey started 10 years before it actually did, and I had those tools available to me. And I know someone's going to look back and be like, thank you so much for these tools. And I wish they came earlier.
It's so right. I mean, I think COVID especially was a real sort of catalyst for that change and people realizing like, what am I doing? Like, what really matters? Like, is all this stress that I'm going through, is it making a difference? Is it really fulfilling me at the end of the day? And, you know, the quiet quitting, people just walking away because they just couldn't face it anymore. So the idea of having some solutions to help keep people fulfilled and engaged in their job, it's a no-brainer.
The great resignation is real, and stress is a silent killer. I mean, I was sick for an entire decade, all due to stress. Once I took myself out of that stressful environment, that's when I started, quote unquote, healing. Like, it really felt like it was overnight, but it wasn't, compared to like 10 years of being sick for so long. Like a couple of months was like, yeah, it happened overnight. I manifested this. Look, it works.
Well, and a lot of the things that you mentioned are things that people accept as normal.
And it's not anxiety, stress. Like, you don't have to go through that. It's simple. Just work on yourself, learn the tools, whether it's meditation, EFT tapping. There's so many different tools out there. Just find what works for you, find what resonates with you. Because what, like we were talking before this, like personal development, spirituality is not a one size fits all. There's so many different things out there, and try them all. Yeah, why not? And see what really resonates and stick to that one.
I know that the business side of Xpansion Alchemy is just starting, but are you meeting any resistance within that?
Yeah, so I was talking to a potential client a couple days ago, and he was like, "This is great, this is amazing, but how am I supposed to bring this to my team? Like, my team already thinks I'm crazy talking about aliens and stuff. Like, how am I supposed to bring this?" And my response was simple, like, you don't have to tell them we're going to be expanding consciousness and like shifting dimensions and vibrations and all that fun stuff. Yes, that verbiage might resonate with you, but not for the quote unquote normie. All you have to say is you are going to feel better. This program is going to make you feel better. It's going to make you want to do better. And as a team, I want you to feel better. Simple as that. And he's like, "Oh, I really like that." So he brought it to his team, and we'll see how that goes. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, right. Well, and it takes a little bit of time. I mean, talking back to plant medicine, I've dabbled in it as well. With essential oils was really how my journey started, because I was also under a ton of stress. I had just had my second child, was working full time in engineering, and was just like, what is all of this nonsense? I was so stressed out, and just felt so like I just yelled at everyone all the time. I was like, this is not me. This is not how I choose to live. And it was a friend who was like, well, try this oil, which I was like, this has got to be the most hokey, ridiculous thing. But that was 9 years ago. And now I think like, gosh, I mean, I still use oils every day, and that's plant medicine in a lot of ways. But you use a whole lot of other different kinds of plant medicine. And I don't know if everyone has, I think Gwyneth Paltrow with Goop has helped a lot to shine a light on what it's like with some of the more fringe medicines as a way. But you mentioned ayahuasca, and I think that's your favorite one. Tell me a bit about ayahuasca and why it resonates so deeply with you.
Yeah, so ayahuasca is a sacred brew from the Amazonian jungle, made from two different plants, the ayahuasca vine as well as either the chacruna leaf or the chalipanga leaf, made into this tea of sorts. So, and when I say tea, it is the most vile thing you will ever put in your mouth. It is not good. But you drink this brew, and then about 30-40 minutes later, for me, it usually starts like I'll feel different vibrations, different frequencies. Like, I feel like the ground is rumbling of sorts, and I know that I'm going into a different dimension. And once there, you can work on different traumas. At first, when you drink ayahuasca deals with all of the big stuff in your life. So if you have any traumas, if you have any ailments, if you have any physical ailments, like all of the big stuff she deals with. And then, like, I've drank over 100 times now. Like, I don't need to be working on like why I can't digest my food anymore, because like that's already done.
Yeah.
So for now, it's like I say it's like little micro shifts in my perception, in my reality. very similar to how can I take that into real life? Okay, now like I've been meditating for 10 plus years. Okay, how can I stay in meditation 20 seconds longer without losing my concentration? It's those little shifts in life. Same with those little shifts with ayahuasca. And for me, it's my favorite because one, it was the first medicine that truly healed me, that I had the most biggest, profound clarity with healing path. And the second that ayahuasca and I met, like I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Every person on this planet needs to try this. But now that I've been working with the medicine for over 6 years, like I know it's not for everyone. And please, like if you're listening to this episode, do your due diligence. It might not be for you. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help. I also facilitate and serve the medicine as well. It is not for everyone. It might not, like there's a lot of different contradictions with medications, with different just mental illnesses that you might have, that it might just not be for you. And that's okay. There's other ways around it. Sometimes you might need to get off of medications or whatever. But for me, ever since her and I first met, and I say her as the spirit of this plant, and plants are, they have no genders, but for me, ayahuasca always comes as a female spirit. And ever since her and I met, like I knew my path was much deeper than just being a passenger and like riding this out. I knew that I had a mission much wider to serve. And it was with ayahuasca and to help people with this medicine because it's helped me tremendously.
Mm. That's why I love calling it medicine, because you wouldn't ever think that any medicine that everyone could take, or that there aren't things to be conscious of, be aware of, and know that it's not for everyone. Because like we said, healing is not a one size fits all journey. It's very individualized. It's very personal, because all of our wounds are very personal, our inner and our outer scars.
Ayahuasca in general is a very personal journey. Like when you go to a ceremony, they'll tell you to be quiet, focus on yourself, focus on your breath. Like there's going to be people screaming, people throwing up next to you. Like don't let that distract you. Like it is a very personal journey. Focus on yourself, on your own thoughts, on your own breath. It is a personal journey.
Mm. So what do you feel is next for you?
So I am in the process of building a retreat center here for ayahuasca in Colombia with my partner.
Beautiful.
I'm so excited about that. He is actually in Peru at the moment looking for shamans in Peru so we can bring them here to Colombia and host them. It's a whole project that's going to take a long time, but I'm super excited about it.
Oh, that sounds really, really lovely. And being able to have that space that's your own, that you can do that. That's fabulous.
And hopefully bring my Xpansion Alchemy students over to Colombia for retreats, because like even with corporate, we change the leaders. They're the ones that are going to make the difference as well. They're the ones that are going to come back and change their teams too.
Yeah, they have so much more influence
Yes.
on the world, on decisions, on people, on all the things. So it's really incredible. So if someone is interested in the Xpansion Alchemy system, in joining it, what does that process look like?
Yeah, so they just go to xpansionalchemy.com, and it's expansion with an X because I'm fancy like that.
Who needs an E?
I'm sure everything will be in the show notes, and then you can reach out to me at aniahalama.com. And Xpansion Alchemy, I wanted to say like pricing as well. It's super affordable, $99 a month or $9.99 for the year.
Oh, that's lovely. That's absolutely wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Ania. It's been such a great, sharing time with someone else on these journeys, because even though we're interested in similar things, we each have our own journey to get there too, which is a beautiful thing. And I've enjoyed getting to meet you and share this with you.
Thank you so much, Catryn. It's been a pleasure.
And to the listeners, thank you so much for being here. I know you enjoyed this episode as much as I did recording it. So please make sure to like and share this episode with your friends. Make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss out on future episodes, because you never know who I'm going to bring next, because I usually don't know. Until next time, everyone, have a great day.